Hi, guys. Welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is another fantastic day for a cool interview. I've got Donna Tashjian with me. Donna is a woman who has learned how to turn her baggage into luggage and can teach us a lot about actually reframing our experiences and just living a life so wonderful that there's simply no room for alcohol or anything to numb you or anything for you to escape your reality because you're so busy living a fantastic reality. So now that's what I do nowadays. That's what Donna does nowadays. So let's figure out why she does it, how she does it, and what lessons we can learn. So Donna, thank you so much for coming onto my show.
My pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Oh, absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure. Before we go anywhere further, press that subscribe button. Press that button, guys. You can do it. Because let's share these messages. Let's get you informed, and then tell your friends. Because it's so beautiful. I get the privilege to talk to wonderful people, and they open up with me, and they tell me their deepest inner secrets, and they are cool secrets. So you might as well share them with the world. So guys, subscribe and let your friends know about the show. Donna, welcome. Now, when you were a little girl, you were probably one day going to your mommy and daddy and say, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to turn baggage into luggage. That's what I'm going to do. Yes.
No, I didn't.
So who did you want to be when you grow up?
I didn't really know specifically. The only thing I continued to say is I'm going to help people. And I didn't really know what that would like, but things took a turn unexpected rather young. So as it happens to a lot of us, things don't turn out like you think they are. So that started me on my journey of collecting baggage, first of all.
and welcome to life, isn't it?
Yes,
we all
absolutely.
do. Every single person, the Pope, any world leader, well, they have got enough baggage to go for a long time.
Let's not go there.
No, that's so true. I agree. Every person, so guys, anyone you look up to as a peer where you think, wow, they get their shit together. They all have baggage. Yes. Are you happy to share a bit about your baggage?
Sure. I'm happy to. I grew up in a blended family, meaning both parents were married previously and brought kids to the marriage. My new father became my daddy. I really didn't have one before, so he became my daddy, which was a good thing. But when I was 14, I became pregnant, and it wasn't consensual. So 15 years old, I have a little girl, and I raised her on my own. I grew up in, I would call a religious family, and we're talking quite a few years back since I was 15. And teenage pregnancies, at least in the environment I was in, was not okay. And so there was a lot of shame and judgment that accompanied that period in my life. To say it was hard, when words just aren't enough, it's just like there's no adjectives, there's no description to talk about how difficult it was. I graduated high school before I was 17. I was fully employed before I was 18, and I had my own place before I was 19. So I was 18 with a 3-year-old, kind of giving you a picture. And so, but those kind of hard times, and I was trying to be an overachiever, to prove I had value, to prove that I had worth, and learning that since it's been a while since I was 15, but learning the things that I have learned over the years to be able to help us turn our baggage into something good, to be able to learn from it and grow from it and actually be stronger instead of weaker, is what I specialize in.
That's the hardest thing, isn't it? That reframing of the experiences that we have, because it's so easy to fall into the why me trap and
Oh,
poor
yeah.
me, poor me, poor me, another one. And it is so easy. I certainly have been in that. And in all fairness, you were given quite a lot of heartache and a lot of pain at a very early stage there.
Yes.
You are now reframing it. Were you able to reframe it then?
I don't know that I reframed it per se. I don't think I would use that word. I buried it and had to move on. It's pretending we're okay when we're not okay. Exactly. And proving, and the other part of me that for me, my story is I wanted to prove them wrong. So, I worked really hard to prove everybody wrong while still doubting myself on the inside, while still not believing me. I mean, jumping ahead a little bit, when I met my husband and he told me he loved me, you know how many men had told me they loved me and they always wanted something? So when he said he loved me and I loved him and I thought it could go somewhere, and I just said, that's nice. It wasn't what he wanted to hear, of course, but I'm like, time will tell to see if you really love me, because we don't believe everything we're told. We've been told all kinds of stories. Anyway.
Very nice. So very cynical and very mature. But
it was
mature,
very protective of myself.
I was about to say, mature as a survivor, as a woman who had to survive. So therefore, the walls went up. And you went into truly survival mode, look after yourself and your job. Were your parents supportive? Whilst they might have disagreed with it and they might have felt the same shame and guilt, however right or wrong that is, were they still there for you? Or was there a complete rift?
I was able to stay in the home, if that's what you're referring to. But as soon as I made any income, they started charging me rent. And, there was a lot of irritation and resentment on my part. But when I look back on it, boy, it made me tough. It made me have to stand on my own 2 feet. So it's not all bad, but I wouldn't do it the same way if it happened for me.
But that's the fate of us. We will always do the opposite what our parents did to us.
At least differently.
Exactly. And it is, I think that is a curse that runs through every generation since we came from the cave floor. So it is what it is. No, fair call. So there you were, a young woman, in fight and flight mode from a very, very early stage, which makes you mature, which makes you the go-getter, because you have got a real drive. You want to establish yourself. You need to establish yourself.
Well, I have a child now. I have to be able to. It's not just me. And when it's just me, we can revert into all kinds of behavior we wouldn't do, at least for me, when someone else is depending upon me. So, yes. Very much so.
Okay. How did that story continue? What job did you do?
I started working as a medical records clerk, was my first job. And I worked full-time, raising her, living on my own. And I went to school one night a week, taking one college course.
Wow. Okay. You're a busy girl.
And then at college at night is where I met my husband. He was in the Air Force. And so we dated for 3.5 years before we were married. Took some time with that in that process. So as of this November, I will have been married 37 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That means 37 years of trying to redefine yourself every day and learning to live with someone who is developing himself. So that is this beautiful interwoven journey there.
Absolutely.
Wow. When did you start being interested in helping others? What was the breakthrough? What was the catalyst that changed you from a survivor slash victim slash hardcore, I will look after myself, towards actually I have the need to help others, or I want to help others? How did that switch happen?
Well, a whole lot of also what brought me through that stage was my faith. And so that's part of my story. And I was involved in a local church. And through that is where I first started what I would have called mentoring. And I was always seeming to be, as far as back as I can remember, the girls that somebody was sitting down with me going, I can't believe I'm telling you this. And they would be crying or sharing things. I've never told anybody this. And so I was always that girl. And so and my youngest daughter I always remember women sitting on the couch crying with you, Mom. And I didn't know that was one of her memories, but so I was that girl. When I said at a young age, I wanted to help people, I just didn't know how I would be doing it. It was just that drive to be there. So I founded nonprofit organizations. I worked in nonprofit organizations. I did volunteer work in different places to be able to mentor, and we would have called it discipleship. Coaching wasn't a word then as it is today. And I raised my children. And about 10 years ago is when I began to shift and go, what do I really want to do now that I'm grown up? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? And we all hit those kind of moments around different pivotal ages. And through that process, I went back to school and got my coaching certification. It's like, how do I do this even better? How do I learn to do what I'm naturally gifted at even better? So currently I have 3 coaching certifications and some other certifications that's helped me do that. And through this process of becoming a coach in the capacity I am today, I am able to watch transformation happen rather quickly in people's lives, where before I was sitting and listening. Now there's actually really great transformational progress, which is where the Turning Your Baggage into Luggage program came from. And I have steps and some tools I'd like to share today, if I may.
Oh, I would be delighted. But isn't it amazing that is, so what guidance did you get from the church? Were there instrumental people there that were role models for you? Or was that, again, were you still in the survivor mode, whilst you had this natural ability to make people talk and to open up? Was that recognized amongst the church leaders, and they were saying, wow, we need to nurture this girl, she might become someone in our church who we want to put forward?
Most of the time, yes, but not all the time. There's always situations where church isn't perfect, but most of the time, yes, there was a lot of nurturing and educational opportunities to help to do it better, but it was in the confines of the church. And I'm much more than that today, being able to reach not just that little audience, but international, and being able to touch a lot of other people's lives. So overall, yes, the church was a benefit, but it didn't equip me with what I have today.
And I think that is nice to hear, though, because unfortunately, I'm a cynical man and I was not touched by Jesus Christ. So therefore, I've got quite a cynical approach when I look at churches. There are some fantastic churches and fantastic church communities. I should say not church, but fantastic leaders that have been touched by Jesus Christ and are going out there in his name doing fantastic work. No two ways around that. And I've met such people, but I think they are few and far between, I have to say. So it is... and there are, unfortunately, the church institutions have been tainted with a lot of scandals, with a lot of, Well,
welcome to the world.
Touche.
And the people are human. So just because we have a relationship or touched by Jesus, as you put it, does not mean that I can't make mistakes and I can't do stupid things. It is not a qualification to say because I'm a leader or not that I can't do stupid things. And the other point I want to make, because I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit, is there are millions of people that you may not call leaders that are doing good in the world. It's just not on the local news.
I love it. I love it.
So there is a lot of happening in the world. And the bad stuff makes the news, but you don't hear about all the good stuff.
That is very, very true, and absolutely gifted to you, because I surround myself with the good people. So I know. That's I love it. I love it that you point that out. And I guess we really need to stress it again. We are all broken. We are all perfectly imperfect. Whatever kind of whatever kind of mask you try to portray on your social media or in real life, the perfect white picket fence kind of living, my bottom, as if that was really true. So and I think that is the nice thing. And I think that is the key thing, to actually recognize that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be not 100% perfect, or it's okay to be actually completely inadequate in a certain area. Because I mean, if you can accept that and have a good moral inventory and actually see what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, only then can you actually start working with yourself, that you actually say, okay, damn, I'm really not so good in the way I deal with my relationship. And okay, how can I learn more about that? Or what can I do about that? So it's the inside actually of accepting, yes, you are not perfect. Okay, whatever you portray on the outside. That's beautiful. So how are people actually finding you? So you are going out there, you want to be there. Who are the typical people that you work with?
I wanted to touch on one of the things that you just said
please.
With that, and then I'll go to that, is I call that step being honest with ourselves of where we are on our own map of really where I am. Because to me, it isn't just recognizing that I'm imperfect. It's recognizing I'm on a journey. And because of where I am today won't necessarily where I want to stay.
Absolutely.
But I can't. Well, I use a story that I tell for this analogy of the days before GPS. And I'm telling it from the US because that's where I am. So a guy was traveling from a town to Chicago for a sales trip. And his connections were almost late, and he's afraid he was going to be late for this important sales meeting. So he's rushing off of the plane, and he rushes up to the rental car place, grabs the keys and went, "Oh, I need a map," and just grabbed one off the counter, rushes out the door, and is traveling around Chicago, and he cannot find the place he's supposed to go. He's like, "I don't know where this street is." He opens the map all the way up, and it's a map of Detroit, Michigan, not Chicago, Illinois. And so many of the times, that's the way our life has felt. I don't have the right map.
Touché.
And so it's important to recognize where I am and be super honest with myself so I can get to the destination that I want to get to. But I have to recognize where I am, wherever that is for you today. Whatever you are struggling with, just be really honest and say all of the yucky stuff and get it out, and then go, now, where do I want to be? And that's what I do, is help people get to where they want to be and recognize it's a journey, not a destination. It doesn't have to be, I'll be happy when XYZ happens. I can find joy today in the journey and love helping people do that.
So true, isn't it? And if I look back at my own recent journey after breakdown, after rehab. So that's now coming close to 7-8 years now. And I must say that my journey has been a very convoluted path that goes left, right, and center through some very interesting scenery. And I must say that my goals, who do I want to be when I grow up, it's constantly changing and it's constantly evolving and it's constantly updating, as if I get constantly new kind of downloads from some universe or some gods into my head to say, okay, why don't you think about that? That's a good idea, and it's beautiful. And with that, it's the most exciting journey, and I love it that you say that because sometimes we all think it is so absolute. Look what's happening to me. I'm in this. How could I ever get out of here? You think you're stagnant. Yeah, you're not. You're not. You're actually in a place where you need to be to make change. Because if you were comfortable, then you wouldn't change. But you're so much in pain that this is actually good. So therefore, instead of saying, "Oh my God, this pain is killing me," yeah, it might feel like that at the moment, but it's like a bow, and you have just pulled the string back. You're about to release that arrow, and you just need to figure out which way do you actually want to point at. Okay, where do you actually want to go? And I think that is so important that you take a coach, or that you have got a mentor or someone who does this inventory with you, and actually opens your eyes towards, okay, so yeah, you taught me a lot about yourself now, but you haven't told me is, who do you want to be when you grow up? But I'm 70. What do you mean grow up? Yeah, I still use exactly the same words. And every single time I say to someone, even in their 60s, 70s, they laugh and then they start thinking. And that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So, okay, I turned the table here. So who do you want to be, Donna, when you grow up?
I am currently being who I want to be. And I know that it is bigger than the place I am right now as far as reach and all of that. And so I have never been in more of my sweet spot. In all of my, not that any of it wasn't a sweet spot, but there is something really powerful about where I am today. Yeah. And the way you asked me before, who I reach, right now, I've had some more men asked me to do some of the things, but I worked because of my history predominantly with women. And so I work with women who have had some kind of traumatic or difficult childhood, is my primary area. And another area is women who've come out of some difficult relationship, perhaps abusive or narcissistic relationships, is where I work with them and help them turn their baggage into luggage. And when I say that, luggage or baggage is what we've talked about. That's pretty clear. But a lot of times when we repack our baggage, I don't know where I want to go. It's like I've been in survival mode for so long. I don't know what the future looks like, and helping them to repack their luggage and then build the life they would actually love and what that would look like without all of the mask and survival and all of those kind of components is like rebuilding their life. So that's what I do every day.
What I like in your metaphor is that you're not throwing out the baggage, but you're actually accepting that this is part of you. Correct. And that actually makes you such a stronger person. Absolutely. I asked many a times my guests, hey, look, if you had a chance, if you had a magic wand, would you go back in time and would you change your life? And most people I talk to say, after a short consideration, no. Because they are now, as you said, in a sweet spot. They have grown so much into them now, the person that they actually want to be. And without their trauma, they would have never been able to do so. They would have never recognized that. Yeah. We had yesterday morning, I came to work And my anesthetic technician was looking quite jaded and a bit of reserved, what's normally is exuberant, etc. I said, "Are you all right?" And he said, "No, I haven't slept well." And what I know about him, he is ex-special forces, and he has got quite a good going PTSD that from now and then rises up. I've got the same. I've got a PTSD, and we just looked at each other. We knew exactly how we felt. I hadn't slept so well either. So we both said, yeah. And then I made a comment along the lines, "Oh, no, that's right." We sort of accepted that, got on with work, and he walked past and I had an empty drink bottle lying there, and he tripped it down by accident from the shelf or from the bit where it was on. We both, without thinking, reached down. We both were ready. He caught it first. My hand underneath his, and we looked at each other, and I said, "See, it's actually quite cool PTSD. It has some advantages, isn't it? Because we are always switched on, bang, bang. We are ready, fight and flight, because that's what the PTSD does to us." We both have reframed our experiences in such a way that actually I have become a very good crisis manager. And that's really a handy thing to have when you're an anesthetist and when constantly there's a risk of shit hitting the fan. And same with him. We just looked at each other and we just laughed about that, because here we are, broken people to a certain degree, but we have accepted that is part of us. So therefore, there was no emotional, "Oh my God, I haven't slept well." No, we haven't slept well. Okay, so let's make sure that we both are watching each other so that we don't make any mistake. But it was that kind of reframing, this kind of accepting that this is part of you and taking whatever it is with a pinch of salt, not feeling guilty or ashamed or so, but actually, yeah, this is me. And hey, look, I've caught that drink bottle. And if you had not, I would have kind of a thing. And it's just cool. So therefore, that's a little example where I've been able to do so, rather than, in the past, I would have been angry that he threw it down or, shit like that. It's just, So one example, and you are helping people who come to you to, I assume, exactly with the same thing. Helping them to come to terms with what they have gone through and allow them to actually get on with life.
Yes.
You were saying you have got some steps there that you'd like to go through and like to introduce your clients to. Come on.
So you're ready now?
I want to know. See, I'm the ideal client. Give it to me. Give it to me. You don't have to convince me.
Oh, man. I don't know if you want to step into that with me.
Hey, I'm ready.
Oh, well, one of the first things that I talk to you, and you alluded to this already, or I just frame it and I just word it a little bit different, is I called it building our understanding superpower. And what that means is I am building the understanding that I can grow from everything that happens to me. And that I can, baggage thinking, you said this, why this happened? It's not fair. It's not just. It's not right. Somebody needs to pay. All of those kind of thoughts is baggage. Luggage thinking is that I can't change it, but I'm going to use it to grow and to become a better me, and perhaps in turn help other people. I call it gifts wrapped in sandpaper.
I like that.
And so learning that kind of situation, no matter what it is, there's something we can learn from it. And just the action of looking for the gift makes you rise above the crap, if you will, and be able to look long term. Like, this is not going to be my whole chapter or my whole book. I mean, it's going to be a chapter, and then I'm closing this chapter and I'm going to move on and I'm going to grow and become. So that's the first one. What's your thoughts about that?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. The moral inventory, step 4 in the AA. Where am I right now? I've accepted that things are not right. Okay, let's actually look honestly. Let's pull the curtains. Let the light in. And actually, where are you? 100% on.
Number 2 is focus creates feelings. And if we think about whatever you're focusing on, focus amplifies things or multiplies it. So if I was going to talk about a relationship, and I mentioned that I've been married, and still after 37 years, my husband can't always get the laundry basket with his dirty socks. So when we were newly married, I would look at those socks and say, why can't he hit the basket? Doesn't he know how hard I work around here? Does he not care that I'm working so hard? He can't even put his socks in the laundry basket. And then when he gets home, I'm mad. And he doesn't know why I'm mad, but I'm mad. And so our whole evening takes a different turn because what I focused on was those stupid socks. And I ruin a whole day and perhaps a whole evening over a stupid pair of socks. Don't raise your hands or anything if you've ever done this kind of stuff. But on the other hand, if I looked at the socks, picked them up, and then remembered all of the things that he does that amazes me and that I love, when he walked in the door, how much you want to bet our evening is completely different.
Interesting.
And so focus, what I was focusing on actually creates emotions. We a lot of times feel like emotions lead us. But my focus and what I'm choosing to think about is actually creating the feelings, not the other way around. And so if you're not liking your feelings or how you are feeling at that moment, look backwards and say, where did I have my focus? Am I focusing on the stuff I did wrong? Am I focusing on how I screw up? Am I focusing on who made me mad? I'm focusing on all the crap going on in the world. Like you mentioned, and I mentioned, there's so much good going on in the world.
so true, isn't it? And that's where a minute of gratitude comes in.
Absolutely.
Where you actually, I sometimes catch myself being in quite a grumpy mood, and it typically.
Really?
Bloody hothead, there's still the other guy in me who is trying hard to make me rethink my achievement. And so it's quite good. It often happens in traffic because our Rotorua drivers are not necessarily renowned for being this indicator thing. No, this is, we don't do that here, etc. So and as a hothead, I often get a little bit under the hot under the collar. So what I have started doing is a minute of gratitude, where I actually say, okay, yes, you're a beep, but I am happy and grateful that. And then I force myself to come up with things that I'm happy and grateful about for 60 seconds. And it's first of all, it always astounds me what comes out of my mouth. I do that loud in the car, speaking out loud so that my ears can hear me. And it is actually amazing. And sometimes I have to laugh about myself. And the moment I laugh, an honest laugh, the moment my anger says, okay, I give up, you win. And it is exactly that. So I can change my anger and resentment actually quite quickly nowadays with a minute of gratitude. Now that's a superpower to change yourself, isn't it?
It is a total superpower but it's something you practiced. Probably the first time you did it, it didn't work quite so well. You were still wanting to ram them or whatever, something. And the other thing that helps me in those kind of situations is you don't know what was going on, and why they were not thinking about their indicator and what they may have faced. I heard a story of a guy who he climbs on board one of the subway trains, on the commuter trains, and he's got 4 kids with him, and he sits down, and you can tell he's like not there. It's just like not focused. He's got 4 kids, and they're swinging on the rails and running up and down the aisles and bumping into people, and everybody in the train is getting super irritated. and is like, why doesn't he do something? Why does he let his kids run like this? And, somebody's going to get hurt. And what if we stop suddenly and all of that kind of stuff? And he kind of wakes from a stupor and he looks around and he tells the kids to sit down. He goes, I'm sorry. He said, my wife just died at the hospital. Now you look at him and those kids in a completely different perspective.
100%.
When we understand, we don't know people's story when we get irritated with them and when they don't do what we think they should do. And we need to be kind to ourselves too in our stories and allow the mistakes that we may be making and understand that everyone have compassion. And again, when that gentleman's doing that, if my focus is, I wonder what happened to him today.
Absolutely.
Instead of, I wonder what's wrong with him and being critical, it changes how I feel. And it could change the whole environment of that trains, and all of that kind of stuff. We could change our world with just a dose of kindness.
Absolutely.
And that's one of my soapboxes. I'm like, man, if people could just be kind and quit being so mean to each other, we could change the world and we wouldn't need all the laws to do so. Anyway, that's not in my notes, but that's how
That's such a powerful belief, and that's such a powerful story. For me, the story that I remind myself of is the story of the taxi driver who picks up a fare, an elderly lady who's nicely dressed up, etc., and she's driving to a hospital. And the taxi driver says, cool, we're going to be there soon. And she said, no, take your time. Would you mind driving through downtown? And he said, that's a huge detour. That would take quite a lot. And she said, look, I don't mind paying, but would you mind? And it turns out that this was her last trip because she was going to hospice and she knew she would be dying there. And so when she was driving with the taxi driver, she said, that's where I met my husband. That's where the dad. And the taxi driver switched off the fare and switched off the meter and just spent the next 2 hours with her, just talking, driving, and knowing that this was her last trip. And they were for sure not driving fast. So if I would have been behind that taxi, I would have probably thought, why the hell, what's going on? And that is the story that I remind myself constantly with. And it is a beautiful story. And in all fairness, I see that every day in my life as an anesthetist. There's bad news waiting for many of my patients just around the corner. And it's beautiful to then be humbled by these thoughts and to be reminded that kindness is such a powerful thing. And I love it. I love it that you point that out. This is a very good thing to go onto a soapbox with. I 100% am behind you. I'm next to you. Move over. Come on, we share that soapbox.
We will share it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Step take. I'm all with you here. Where are we going from here?
Well, one of the other things I talk about that's really key is learning to build faith in myself, especially when we've screwed up with things. And to me, that is reflected by my self-talk. So learning to talk to myself, you talked about saying out loud so your own ears could hear it. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about is what are you saying about yourself to yourself? And one of the other keys of changing, you ever had runaway thoughts you can't seem to stop?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You want a key on how to do that?
Tell me.
It's very simple. You cannot, for example, if I tell you to think about a pink elephant, I want you to picture a pink elephant. It's got a pink bow around its neck. Have you heard this one before?
I see the bloody thing.
and you can see it. You can see the picture of it. Well, I want you to hold on to that. Don't let it go. And then I want you to say red fox out of your mouth.
Red fox.
Where'd the pink elephant go?
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Okay.
So we can't thinking about, I'm such a stupid idiot, and then turn around and go, I can. If I just take one step in front of me, I can. We cannot think one thing and speak another. So the simplest way to change what you're thinking, if the thoughts are stuff you don't want and you want to stop them, say something out of your mouth that is different. Begin to speak out of your mouth. That's why declarations or affirmations, whatever word you want to use, you saying the things I'm grateful for shifted you from anger to gratitude. It is the same way with your thoughts. Is just speak. There are so many resources about declarations and affirmations to build ourselves up, and it helps you heal. It helps to redefine the new story you want to create.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and in all fairness, that is a technique that is certainly taught in where I did my rehab. We were from the day one, we were recommended to come up with a quote for the day. And in the morning, we were speaking them out loud around the room. What is your quote? What is your quote? And I kept that up up until nowadays. And it is actually a very powerful thing. It's interesting that you say that, because in recent days I've been so busy with other projects that I have forgotten to do that. And it's interesting because these affirmations were helping me to focus where it was little things, because I shared them with my Instagram. I shared them with other people. I actually created connections. I touched other people's lives, and that in itself made me actually feel good. So not only did I tell my own self what I needed to hear, but I was also telling others what they probably needed to hear, or some aspect that might refocus them away from their own misery, if I wanted to say it, or their own problems, towards, hey, this is a really good thought, or thank you, that is so beautiful what you said there. So there you are. It's the daily affirmations. Thank you for readjusting my own path back onto that, because you just made me realize something. And that's so beautiful. Here we are connecting, talking about something that matters. And it's inevitable for me to grow, that I don't grow. Okay, it's double negative. You know what I mean? I will grow with just talking to you and listening to you. How beautiful is that? So now this is gorgeous. So now reframing things, talking out loud. What a beautiful step there. Are there other steps then that you're developing?
Well, there's a lot, but I work
these
with
are the
people
teasers. These are the teasers.
I work for people for 6 months. So, this is not something we can do during one podcast.
Exactly. You're so right. And that is where that is the important thing that we also need to say out loud. Once you start on that journey, it is truly a journey. And this journey, that's right. This is not a quick fix. When I went into rehab, I put my whole, okay, I'm a doctor, I can beat that, I'm going to kick ass. And I did. I made huge progress. Yet when I look back, it was the tiniest step, essentially, in this whole huge journey of finding myself and actually learning to love myself. This is such a tiny thing. Yet there I was after 4 weeks. Hey, you can look at me, kind of a thing. And it is what it is. It is just you need to accept that. So, guys, when you think 6 months, wow, that's long. And then you think, oh shit, and she's charging what? You're kidding me. The problem is that your mind has been running in certain grooves for such a long time. You can't just, it's the same as if you go to the gym, do 2 hours in the gym and say, wow, I'm fit now for the rest of my life. That doesn't work.
I wish it did, but no.
And it's the same with our mind. And sometimes you need to hear the same freaking message for the 12th time. And suddenly at the 12th time, you finally get it. And you actually say, And when I mean get it, not just there, but actually there. And that is what takes time, because you're not ready all the time for the change that needs to happen. There are so many powerful forces within you that rather would like you to continue. Because after all, those last 20 years that you were drinking, or that you were behaving in a certain way, and maybe in survival mode, that you were a real asshole to others because you were afraid to open up and actually loving someone and being loved, because of your of screwed belief systems in you. Mm-hmm. Well, to suddenly switch that all over in 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, no. So therefore, please, so Donna is 100% right, but look at it in a positive way. Every single day, you are now given the power to reinvent yourself, to focus on either a topic that was aware to you, maybe just a relationship that you have just come out of, or actually some other things that were festering in the deep, dark recesses of your mind, and that were essentially driving some of your behaviors, driving so these core beliefs that drove your emotions, and then the emotions that drove your actions. So once it takes some time to actually click onto all that. And then, even if you have got a conscious understanding, that's where we need to go, to then learn the tips and tricks and skills.
And to walk it out.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And this walking out is a journey that you need to do. Donna and I know the common steps, but it is still you need to take these steps, and that takes time. That takes time. You can't just run up a mountain in I would like to be up there, these 3,000 meters. I want to be there now. Okay. Now, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. I'm up there.
I've said how many of us wished we could step into a magician's, booth and then walk out and have it all be better.
Exactly.
But man, if you actually honestly said that, we would have missed so many of things that we've learned along the way of being able to fortify us and then impact other people as well. So it is a journey, and there is joy in the journey.
Hell yeah. And this journey, we talked about the basic principles today, and the same principles are 100% true. Sometimes people are using similar steps in their journey, and indeed are more religious and faith-based, and that's absolutely fine. Other people are completely secular, like me, and in my rehabs, God did not play any role, and it was not forced down my throat, so I was very happy being secular. Equally, some people are more science-based in their approach. Well, if it comes to addiction, there are science-based program like Smart Recovery, etc., that can help you. So I think the steps that we have just illuminated, they are quite common. They fit into all these programs. But I guess the point is, all these programs have one thing in common. There's connection with others, and there are people in there who are further down the path compared with you out there. So therefore, it is, if you were to try to do something completely new in your life, let's say you want to always be a restaurant owner. Well, you wouldn't just buy a restaurant and give it a shot. You would probably try to find other people who are successful restaurant owners and try to learn from them.
Right.
It's a bit the same when it comes to your own baggage. Maybe find other people who actually have been there and have been able to work with similar experiences and have learned the skills how to reframe things and how to make sense of your suffering, how to make sense of whatever has occurred to you. And there you are. Wow, yes. Donna, what a fantastic talk today. You are a gorgeous woman, and there's a certain clarity that comes from your message there. You have been there once or twice before, so you have been, well, I'm giving it away, and you can read it in the show notes. She has been doing that for 20 years, and it shows. And it shows how she even guided me, and it is beautiful. So, and if she can deal with a stubborn guy like me, even in a short interview like that, so, where could she take you if you're just willing to actually open up and actually think about it? So, Donna, where can people find you?
The easiest place, I'm on Facebook a lot, and then my name will be in the show notes, so you can find me. It's not a common name, so it'll be easy to see. And then my website is iVibrantLiving.com. And on my website, I have a free ebook that you can take advantage of if you would like. It's called An Umbrella on a Sunny Day. And the preface of the book is coming from is how, when we've been through hard times, we are always preparing for the other shoe to drop. So I'm bringing my umbrella because it's sunny out, but I know it's going to rain in my life. I know something bad is going to happen, so I'm preparing for the bad. How to walk away from that so that we can actually enjoy the blessings in our life and enjoy the sunshine. And then when you expect something, you tend to find it. And so when I begin to expect bad, I find it somewhere. So so that's why it's called An Umbrella on a Sunny Day. I share a little bit more of my teenage story, and then some tips and strategies to be able to help you move forward. And it's absolutely free.
Brilliant. Oh, Donna, thank you so much. Guys, look down there into the show notes, Donna Tashjian, and it is beautiful. So thank you very much for rearranging some of my thoughts, because I will certainly go to work today a bit of a different man, a bit of a richer man, a bit of more challenged man in a good way, to see, do I need to realign my path? And this is normal, guys. This is normal. This meandering on your path. If you fly from good old New Zealand to the United States, we will be probably 99% will be off course, because that's what the plane does, and it then just finds its way. And luckily, a good pilot and a good pilot will not be, oh, that's London, I'm sorry. No, sometimes your detours can be big, and that's maybe what you need in your life. But wouldn't it be nice to actually have someone, a bit of a pilot who knows where he's going? So yes. Therefore, and that's where when you're the first time flying, maybe you shouldn't sit in the pilot seat. Maybe you should be the co-pilot, and watch someone else, and that's someone like Donna, and that's beautiful. So life is beautiful, and wherever you are in your journey, there is always hope. There is always help out there, and that I can guarantee to you. Yes. The only thing you need to be is willing to accept that maybe you need help, and hopefully it's a very good sign that you guys are listening to this podcast and watching this YouTube video, which means that there is already a willingness there to engage. Otherwise, you wouldn't have ended here. So therefore, maybe I'm preaching to the converted. But I think the reality is, please be open, and be open to yourself. Allow an honesty to be transparent. Allow yourself to become transparent to those people that are willing, that are able to care about you, and are willing to take you on and say, hey, look, I understand all where you've been, but have you considered, and what about this step next? And why don't you try that and see how that makes you feel? Wow. Suddenly you think, hell, wow. Honestly. So, Donna, thank you so much. This was a fantastic interview today. Very, very grateful, very humbled that you improved me today. Thank you so much. Cool. And you guys out there, look after yourself. Bye.